perishes, but with the precious blood of His Son, Jesus Christ. So we thank God for, sometimes at the end of communion you almost feel like you just came from a funeral. Because it's a somber time, but yet it's a time of great rejoicing.
Amen.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
He was lifted up for our offenses and raised again for our justification. We got to remember the resurrection. So, and not only the resurrection, but He left us with something to do. Right? We're to occupy until He comes. And He gave us what to do until He comes. So, Mike and Skip, come on up. And part of that, what we occupy ourselves with, is the Great Commission. Jesus said to go and to baptize all in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, and to make disciples of all nations. So Mike and Skip were helping make disciples in another nation. They were in Cuba, so he's going to give us share with us some of the trip.
Well, good morning, everybody. We appreciate your prayers. And while we were in Cuba, everything started out real good. We got to Washington, Saturday night. Our plane was supposed to leave early in the morning, and we got to the airport early in the morning, and Skip figured out that he didn't have his passport. So we dug through the luggage like 4 times, and I dug through the luggage just to make sure he wasn't missing it. And then we tried to figure out all these strategies. And, they have some dumb rules. And if any of y'all have ever traveled anywhere, you'll figure that out. They have some really frustrating rules, and it just really makes you want to burn something down somewhere. They wouldn't let Skip fly from Washington to Charlotte without a passport, even though if it was just from Washington to Charlotte, he could have flown without a passport. But because they knew he was leaving the country, he couldn't fly from Washington to Charlotte without a passport. Even though somebody could be standing in the Charlotte airport with his passport in their hand waiting for him, which is what we wanted to arrange. So he wouldn't let us do it, and they said, any part of the trip you try to change annuls the whole trip, and you lose your whole ticket and everything. Anyway, dumb stuff. So had to change everything. Skip had to start over the next day. And he rented a car and drove home, got his passport, and had to drive back to Washington, D.C. He couldn't start his trip in Charlotte either, even though that's only an hour and a half from his house. He had to return to Washington to start the trip because that's the way he was ticketed, or you would lose the whole trip. So thank the Lord for the intelligence of the United States of America, right? Anyway, sometimes third world countries are great, because we could have fixed this in Mexico and it wouldn't have been any problem. Anyway, so we finally got to Cuba. There's one thing I noticed when we got into Cuba. Everybody was speaking Spanish. Obviously, the culture was different, but it's tremendous. Go to a lot of different countries, you feel different things, but there's definitely a tremendous spiritual oppression there. And you've probably heard a lot of things about Cuba. I guess one of the things that we've found out right away is how scarce things are. Stuff that we use every day, stuff that we go down and buy. You go to 7-Eleven and buy a lot of the stuff. And so I asked, one of the ladies there, how is it living here? She said, well, we get an allotment of rice and beans each month, and powdered milk. And we get a bar of soap every 2 weeks to take a shower with, and then after 2 weeks they give us a bar of laundry soap for washing clothes. So basically we get 2 bars of soap a month. And but everything is like that. You can have a cow to milk, but most of the milk you have to give to the government, and you keep enough for that day for yourself. But if you kill the cow, it's 25 years in prison. Killing a stupid cow. And that's how it is. Therefore, you don't hardly see any cows because people just think, well, it's not worth it. And even if the cow dies in the field of old age, you have to call the government. They send an inspector to make sure that's really how he died.
Oh,
And you can't eat it. Okay, so anyway,
That is oppression. That's real oppression.
yeah. So you said that they have a very hard time getting simple things, you know, that they need every day. She said, we need underwear. We need feminine napkins. We need shampoo. We need all these things that we just have a hard time getting. So next time we go back, I now know what I want to take with me. So anyway, the time at the school was really good. They have to set the school up in a certain way to keep the government from interfering. And that is, they can't have 6-month intensive YWAM school like they do everywhere else in the world. So they spread 6 months out over a whole year, and they do short-term things each month. And they have to rent a house to have the students in. The rent's very expensive, even compared to here. A small house was $500 for 3 weeks. Some of the things there are very expensive. Premium gas is over $7 a gallon. Different things like that. So when you're faced with an economy that the minimum wage is 10 CUC, right? 10 CUC, where are you? Oh, there it is. 10 CUC, which is about $14 a month. That's the minimum wage. And some of the people we met at the hotel, that's what they make for working all month. And I was talking to one of the ladies who worked there, and she works every other day. She comes to work. And I said, well, how many hours do you work? She says, I work from 6 in the morning to 11 at night. And that's her day. And it's every 2 days, and she makes $14 a month. So most of the things that they would like to buy, they never can. And a lot of cars from the 40s and the 50s running around.